Welcome everyone. This video deals with part 5, Supplementary 1, God Sees the Truth But Waits, written by Leo Tolstoy from Unit 1, 12th English. The previous class, we stopped. So after suspecting Makar and longed for vengeance. Let's see next what happened. One night, as he was walking about the prison, he noticed some earth that came rolling out from under one of the shelves on which the prisoner slept. He started to see what it was. Suddenly, a Makasimoni crept out from under the shelf and looked up at Akishno with a frightened face. Akishno tried to pass without looking at him, but Maka seized his hand and told him that he had dug a hole under the wall, getting rid of the earth by putting into his high boots and emptying out every day on the road when the prisoners were driven to their work. One night, Akshna was just walking by the prison side. Under one of the shelves on which the prisoners sleep, he saw some mud coming out. At once he stopped to see what it was. A mocker got hold of his hand and said that he had dug a hole under the wall to escape from the prison. And Makar told Akshino that he collected all the sands in the high boots and emptied when they went for the work in the every next day. Just you keep quiet, old man, and you shall get out too. If you flog, they will flog the life out of me, but I will kill you first. Then the Makar asked Akshina not to tell the secret to anyone. And also he offered that Akshina would use this tunnel to escape from the prison. And Makar threatened him that he would kill him because if Akshina revealed the secret to any authority of the prison about the secret digging, the Makar would be flogged to death. And Akshina looked at Makar with anger as his enemy. He took his hand from the Makar and said that he had no idea to escape from the prison. And wrongly punished. The actioner told that he used to tell it or not, but he believed in God that God directed him for what to do and what not. Next day, when the convicts were let out to work, the convict soldiers noticed that one or other of the prisoners emptied some earth out of his boots. The next day, the regular task, all the convicts were driven to the work. A group of soldiers noticed some convicts removed their sands from his boots. The prison was searched and a tunnel found. The governor came and questioned all the prisoners to find out who had dug the hole. At last, all the prison guards searched everywhere. At last, they found a tunnel in the prison. So they gathered all the convicts and they questioned who really dug the tunnel. They all denied any knowledge of it. So those who knew would not betray Makar Semonic, knowing he would be flogged almost to death. At last the governor turned into Akshino, whom he knew to be a just man, and said. So everyone knew in the prison that was Makar Semonic. They would flog Simonic almost to death. So everyone wanted to save his life, so they did not say anything to the higher authority in the prison. At last the governor turned into Akishno, whom he knew to be a just man, and said. Then the governor asked Akishno, because he was an honest man in the prison. You are a truthful old man. Tell me before God, who dug the hole? The higher authority in the prison asked Akshino to tell the truth, who really dug the hole. Makar Simonic stood as if he were quite unconcerned. looking at the governor and not so much as glancing at Actiono. Actiono's lips and hands trembled. For a long time he could not utter a word. He thought, why should I screen him who ruined my life? Let him pay for what I have suffered. But if I tell, so they will probably flog the life out of him. And maybe I suspect him wrongly. And after all, so what good would it be to me? Marcus Monic simply stood without worrying about anything. But Actioner did not say any single word about that secret tunnel. But his lips and hands that trembled in fear. And he thought to himself that why he had to save his life. He was the one who really destroyed his life. Then also he thought Makar should deserve the penalty because the Makar totally destroyed his Actiono's life. He lost his family, lost his life, almost 26 years spent in prison. As Actiono was so kind and gentle, he did not want to let him to be flogged to death. So he did not want to say anything about this tunnel because he knew that Makar would be flogged to death. So how gentle he was. Asked Actiono to tell the truth. Who was the real? The man who really dug the tunnel in the prison. The actioner glanced at Maka Simonic and said, I cannot say, Your Honor. It is not God's will that I should tell. So do what you like with me. I am your nance. Actioner looked at Maka Simonic, and it was to the governor that he could not say anything about this case. And also it was not God's will to tell him. The action asked the governor to punish him in any way because he was one of convicts in his hand in the prison. So, however, the much governor tried. Action would say no more, and so the matter had to be left. The governor tried a lot to know the truth, but no one replied. So the governor dropped the case and dispersed the gathering of convicts. That night, when Akshana was lying on his bed and just beginning to doze, so doze means to sleep, someone came quietly and sat down on his bed. He peered through the darkness and recognized Makar. Peered means looked. That same night, so when Akshana started asleep, someone entered his prison. He just went to him. On seeing Moko Simonic near his bed at night, Akshana feared at first and shouted at him in anger, so what he more wanted of him and why he had come there. So because he spoke in a wretched way, because he had nothing in his hand to give him. He lost his life in prison for 26 years. Almost he spent his manhood. He lost his family also. In a dejected way, he shouted at him. Amaka Simonic was silent, so Akshino sat up and said, what do you want? Go away, or I will call the god. Maka Simonic was still and silent. He could not speak a word to Akshino. And also Akshino asked him what he wanted really from him. And Akshino asked him to go away from the prison in his cell, or he would call the prison guard. So Maka Simonic really regretted for his mistake and really wanted to get forgiveness from his the fellow convicts. a gentleman in the prison. Others called him grandfather and a saint. Really, Mokosimonik wondered about the character of Akshina because he really knew everything about the dugging, but he did not tell anything to the prison authority. Thank you, students. Remaining will be taken in the next class.